today we're talking about energy and passion. When you think about your current energy level and your either exhaustion or spinning feeling, just put in the chat, are you tired? And if so, what time of day do you find yourself feeling the most tired? Two p.m. So that afternoon slump. Yep. Anybody else in the morning? So for some women, you're waking up and it's like, I just can't even get up and go. And then think about, okay, if I do feel tired in my day, how is that impacting me? How is it impacting my relationships? How is it impacting my ability to get my job done? How is it impacting my patience with my children, with my coworkers, with my husband, if you have a husband? Right? Because it's significant. And what I know to be true is you can feel vibrant all day long. Okay. That doesn't mean that you're always going to be high on life and happy and ready to go for a sprint. Right? We are dynamic, cyclic beings. We're women. We're ever evolving. We're ever changing. And so it is normal, particularly when you think about tides go in, tides go out. Okay. Certain times in a menstrual cycle or a moon cycle, it is the time to slow down a little bit and expect less of yourself. So we'll talk today about rhythms at the morning and the end of the day. Got it. Okay. And then regarding passion, can we put in the chat, is anybody struggling with libido? Is anyone struggling with, I don't feel passionate about the work that I'm doing? I don't feel passionate about my relationship anymore. It feels like there's a disconnect and we're like clashing, or I just feel really irritable with my partner. Yeah, so Erica eating a really big lunch, maybe you were tired afterwards. I'll tell you, this morning, I went ahead and took a capsule of lion's mane and a capsule of cordyceps. So cordyceps is a great adaptogen for stamina. And then lion's mane is a great adaptogen for focus and brain clarity. And so I'm like, I'm on it, right? Last night it's this week. The kids had their winter assembly last night. We didn't get home till late. My daughter has her very first play. She's in 3rd grade today. And we had to wrap their secret Santas for school. Like, life is happening, right? So once again, I honor that you're here. I honor that you're watching this because life is happening. And we are prioritizing ourselves and we're prioritizing this time and we're sharing this time together. So I'm grateful for that. I think where I want to start in the workbook is if you think about what do I desire, because for many of us, we're so focused externally. We're so focused on our clients, our employees, our children, our community. Specifically this time of the year, we had a great group call yesterday. And it was like, right, what do I desire? To really allow yourself to say, what do I desire? When my essence is expressed, what does that look like? For one woman, she was, saying she'd been in theater her whole life. The street cleaner's going by. If you can hear it, it's going to be short-lived. She was like, I was in theater all my life. It like lit me up. It made my heart just soar. And then I got married and became a mom. And now I have little kids and I don't really know who I am in the world anymore. It's like, okay, well, we're in a different chapter of life. Can we reintegrate space for creativity and space for theater? Or can we get quiet with what part of me was lit up when I was on stage in theater, or whatever it is for you, that thing that really lights you up? I want you to think less about the actual thing, the actual action, and think more about what part of me is lit up. Where do I feel it in my body? And can I start allowing myself to desire that again? Can I allow myself to express that feeling again? Even if it's not necessarily theater or not necessarily running marathons or, I don't know, insert the thing that you did. If anybody wants to put in the chat, insert that thing that you did, but instead go, okay, how can I integrate into my life ways to allow that desire to be expressed. And so today, where I want to start is on the second page of the workbook today around feminine energy and power for ambitious women. Let's kind of get into this feminine masculine conversation. And I know it's controversial these days, feminine masculine and he, she, they. If it's important for you, take biology out of it. We're talking about feminine masculine energy. Okay. Me as a woman and a female bodied person, I have both. My husband is a male bodied individual. He has both. And what I want to talk about is when we allow ourselves, particularly as the powerhouse women that we are, doing big things in the world, the more we allow ourselves to express that feminine energy, because often we're existing in our masculine, in our push energy out in the working world. Let's have a conversation around how to make some more balance. Natalie says, I was creative, theater, crafts, cooking. Yeah, so you can relate to the creativity, running and helping others. Yes. Okay. So let me pull up the visual that I want, and let's get into this. Graphics. There it is. I want to start here. Okay. Share screen. For those of you that are visual learners, I realized yesterday I did a lot of talking. It's nice to have some visuals. So as you can see up here, I didn't say feminine or masculine. I said pull and push. Okay. So when we are in our feminine, it's magnetic. It's leaning back. It's leading from desire, and it is a pull energy. Okay. A woman who is really in her feminine power has a magnetism to her, and other things are drawn to her. Okay. A man or a woman who's really in their masculine energy, it's push time. It's go time. It's get shit done. Right. So our pull is desire. Whereas in our masculine, it's willing it. I'm going to make this happen. Okay. I'm sure both of us can relate to, all of us can relate to times in our lives where we are making things happen. We are in our logic. We are controlling. We are thinking, right? Versus allowing time and space to quiet in and be in our intuition, feeling flexible, feeling rather than thinking. Okay. So I have to do the same work myself, because for me, it's really easy to be in push. I've been an entrepreneur. I run a successful business. I have a number of employees and agencies. I'm the breadwinner for my family. I'm caring for 3 children in private schools, right? My go-to, especially when I'm under stress or under pressure, is my easy place to be is in push energy. I'm going to produce. I'm going to control. I'm going to think about what's logical. And what I know to be true is when I allow myself to be over in flexibility and feeling and receiving, it's actually a lot more potent. And I actually create a lot more abundance, because think about like pure biology. If we want to procreate, the egg goes out, hangs out in the fallopian tube. And what does it do? It waits. And then it receives. And then it implants. And then the woman creates a baby. Creates. And some might say, oh, I had a real big struggle with infertility. But at the end of the day, to create a baby in that feminine power, it's abundant. And honestly, it can be effortless. It's just simply receiving. In our pull energy, it's spontaneous. Whereas in our push energy, it's sturdy. Women, think about, we can talk on the phone. We can be in a group of women and just talk so circularly, right? Like popcorn. We're talking about this topic and then that topic. Whereas in the masculine, it's short, to the point, linear, go. Okay. So we're able to navigate both. But what I want to invite you is, if you're finding that you're feeling like you're that type A personality, always in the production space. And if you are in a relationship with a male and it feels like there is discordance in the relationship. Like in my scenario, I'm the breadwinner. That's super masculine. And so as he and I do our dance and our roller coaster of marriage, I have to really check myself. And the more that in my relationship, I can drop into, okay, where can I be in more circular flow and being and stop trying to control. And what ends up happening is for the women that don't do this, they emasculate their men. They end up in a control battle. And often they come to me and they say, I don't have libido. And I say, okay, is it that you're not turned on, or is it that you're not turned on by what's being offered to you and the dynamic of the relationship? Okay, so let me look at the chat a little bit. That left brain thing is a problem in the schools. Need the desire, right brain to be pressed out. Fascinating. Receiving sounds great. Yeah. We simply get the opportunity to receive. And the beauty of receiving is when we receive all things. You want to receive love? You want to receive health? You want to receive financial abundance? You want to receive belonging and friendship? Receiving is receiving. We're not discerning what type of receiving we're looking for. And so in this dance for ambitious women, I encourage you to just spend some time taking an account of how much time am I spending in that push energy, both at work, in my relationships, and in my day. And where can I start making some shifts? So if you put it in the chat, when you look at that list, where do you think you spend more of your time? If you just think in a 24-hour period, are you spending more of your time in push or more of your time in pull? Definitely in push. Yep. Anyone else? Most of the women that come into my space are in push because they're ambitious women. I get it. I get you. And it doesn't mean that it has to be how we be. Yeah. So everybody so far is saying push. Yes. I see you. I get you. Okay. So then the next thing I want to bring up, this is another visual for the visual learners here. And I want to move this out of the way and zoom in a little bit. So let me see if I can do this. Yeah. Okay. So in this kind of feminine, masculine space, this is really potent for me. Oops. There's the difference between empowered masculine, empowered feminine, and disempowered masculine, disempowered feminine. This is the wrong visual. I want the one that the marketing team made. It was so much more beautiful. Redesign. Bet you this is it. Yeah. Isn't this so much prettier? I made that last one, and then the graphic designer was like, here, let me help you. Okay. So empowered feminine is intuition, nurture, and pleasure, and surrender, open, sensitive, vulnerable, creative, soft, pull, trusting, receiving mode. So what I want you to think about is we all have inner child stuff, right? We all have past trauma. We all get triggered. And so as you look at this, think about, where do I spend my time when I'm feeling really safe and I'm feeling really empowered? Is it more in this push, finish the job, protection, direction, stability, achieving, certainty, going, production, push mode? That is in empowered masculine. And then if we scroll down again and come down here, disempowered feminine, on the other hand, is controlling, martyr, victim, chasing, nitpicking, fix it, overwhelm, anxious, comparing, right? This is a little bit of kind of like emasculating our men. This is in scarcity thinking. Maybe we start nitpicking our team members, or we get caught up in victim mentality. We get caught up in the eddy of the drama, right? We will find ourselves chasing, if you're in the dating world, chasing rather than just allowing yourself to be fully in your empowered feminine, which is magnetic and it pulls. We'll get caught up in comparison. So I call it comparisonitis or comparisanoia. If you're noticing yourself getting caught up in looking on social media or comparing yourself to others, you have to go, all right, where am I in my disempowered? Versus in disempowered masculine is abuse of power, controlling. It's interesting. Controlling can be in both places. I do think of controlling a little bit more in disempowered masculine. Arrogant, defensive, destructive. I'll do it all alone. Walls up, self-preservation. I'm going to be honest. This is me. If I feel like my safety is in question, or my trust has been broken, or I haven't had enough sleep, or I haven't been filling up my own cup, this is where I go. And it's not pretty. I'll do it. I got it. I don't need any help. I go into self-preservation. Walls go up. I get super controlling. I'll get defensive. And I probably get kind of manipulative and I abuse my power. Okay. And I get to be in self-awareness and go, where do I spend my time? And can I make some shifts here to go, all right, how about when I'm not feeling safe or I'm sleep deprived? Can I move a little bit more over to disempowered feminine if I want to spend more of my time in feminine space? Or what about up in here? So it's just kind of food for thought. So I want to take a pause and let you write some things down. My guess is it feels kind of confronting. And what comes up for you? And if you allow yourself to be in self-awareness in those moments where you're feeling triggered, Natalie says, beautiful diagram, have to go. Absolutely, replay will be available. Is there anything where you can go, there is an area for me. I think I would like to be a little bit more in this area, whether it's when I was comparing push and pull, or when we think about kind of this grid of empowered versus disempowered feminine and masculine. Because what I'll tell you is when we allow ourselves to be potent, powerful women in the world doing big things, and we spend more time in our pull energy, it's spectacular. It's spectacular. And it's very likely that most of what you're looking for is there. And we also get to get shit done. Okay, in the chat, recently I found more joy while in the empowered feminine space. I just didn't know that's what it was. Yeah. Cool, right? To go, I get to kind of put a name to it. And now there's a realization and you get to feel it and catch yourself. Stay in a place of curiosity and go, I'm seeing myself really getting fiery. The self-preservation goes up, the walls come up, or I'm comparing a lot. And I go, here I am again. What am I being triggered by? What story am I telling myself and what can shift? Okay, I'm seeing some people typing and I want to keep looking at the chat, but let's move on. I'm hoping that is just gives you some food for thought and something to continue to allow to percolate. And then tomorrow on the Q&A, we can get a little bit more into it. Let's talk about libido. So for women who say that their libido is low, I see it as the check engine light is on. All right. The life force light. The life force light is dim. I go, all right. Okay. Yes, we can look at some hormones. So maybe your testosterone level is low. Maybe your thyroid is off. Maybe you've got a lot of inflammation in your body. Maybe you're not sleeping well enough. Maybe your estrogen is tanking. Those can all be things that can definitely impact your libido. And Those are simple things to adjust. They're simple. We can make all sorts of adjustments there. The bigger stuff is, how do I be? And if I say that my check engine light is on, to go back to what brings me alive. And what I can tell you is, when you do what brings you alive, your libido will turn back on. Because we feel passionate. You get excited. Particularly for women in this age range of 35 to 55 and beyond. So if you're not in self-expression, libido will shut down. Okay, so question for all of you. I put it in the Facebook group yesterday, but does anyone know their love language? What is your love language? If you know it, put it in the chat. Right? So there's quality time, receiving gifts or gifts, giving gifts, words of affirmation, acts of service, and touch. Okay, Nicole, acts of service, words of affirmation and quality time and touch, acts of service and quality time. Okay, cool. So many of you know this. I love that you know the 5 love language. It's well known. And if you don't worry about it. We'll make sure you have the quiz. And after today, I really encourage you to fill out the quiz. And we can use the 5 love languages in how we interact in our partnerships, right? So my love language is quality time. My daughter's love language is touch. So she wants to be cuddled. And if I cuddle her for just a little bit, she hears, Mom loves me. For me, touch is not my love language. Gifts are not my love language. Somebody sends me flowers. I'm like, oh, that's nice. But I'm not hearing, I love you. My husband's a lot. For him, it's acts of service. So he loves to do. And that's his way of saying, I love you. But if I want to really receive it, is when we sit down and we have quality time and I feel really heard and seen. And so knowing our love language is not just for the sake of knowing my love language, but when you're in relationship with other people, whether it's your best friend, your children, your coworkers, the more we understand their love language, we get to navigate, how do I communicate? How do I be in this dynamic so the other person actually receives my love? Rather than just sending it at a blank wall, because all I'm doing is communicating my form of love. Okay. So in the same light, there's something called the erotic blueprint. Does anybody happen to know your erotic blueprint? If so, put it in the chat. And if you filled out the quiz that I put in the Facebook group, put in the chat. What is your erotic blueprint? So that's sexual, sensual, energetic, kinky, or shapeshifter. Does anybody know what yours is? If you filled out the quiz. And I should be checking shapeshifter. Oh, Erin, of course you're a shapeshifter. I love it. That's so good. Sensual. Yes. Lots of sensuals. Okay, cool. I'm also sensual. Although I'm like, every time I take it, I've even retaken the quiz, like, really? I think I'm a shapeshifter. No, I'm sensual. Okay. So, and love language is physical touch and words of affirmation. Gotcha. Awesome. So the cool thing about erotic blueprint is I kind of see it in the same way as the way I was just talking about our love languages. So in our erotic blueprint, sexual is just like, be quick. We don't need to beat around the bush. They're ready to go. They don't need a whole lot of fluff. Doesn't need to look beautiful. They're turned on. They like quick orgasms. Like, just get to it. Whereas sensual, that individual, it's really important, the ambiance, the music, the smell, the music. If you're setting the stage and there's a pile of laundry in the side for a female sensual, she's not gonna be able to focus because it's like there's clutter over there. A sensual, it takes a long time to get out of our heads in order to drop into our bodies. Or if we're trying to feel turned on, there can be moments where it's like, oh, there's the head again. Wait, why am I thinking about what I'm gonna make for lunch tomorrow? No. Okay, wait, here's my body again. And so when there's two individuals that are doing this sexual dance together, and one is sexual and one is sensual, you can see how there's a disconnect, right? And so we get to learn more about our own personal erotic blueprint as well as the individual that we are in relationship with, so that we can communicate the same language. Right. And so, Erica, I'm seeing that you're sensual and most of your partners have been sexual. Fascinating. Whereas kinky, someone who's kinky, they often feel really misunderstood. They want suspense, they want excitement. They feel excited by the idea of their ankles being tied or getting in trouble for something, like the excitement, the chance, the possibility of getting caught. Whereas an energetic can have an orgasm sometimes without even touch. It's like esoteric connection to the max. Their relationship with sexuality is in colors. And so when you've got someone who's energetic and someone who's kinky together, that's a big dance. And so once again, when we're talking about our passion, if some women go, why are you having this conversation? Well, I believe that for us to live a really passionate, fulfilled, vibrant life, I want women to feel turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. And so the more that we are in self-awareness of who am I when I'm most deeply expressed, and if we are served by really feeling heard and seen, the more that we can have these conversations, if you have a partner, and do the dance in recognition of how do we meld this together, it becomes really potent and it becomes really powerful. And then many of the women in my space are like, okay, I want to get along in my home, in my marriage. I want to have passion. I want to have a strong libido. I want to have strong, healthy, happy sex life. And that then ends up being expressed out in the world. Because now our essence is being expressed, our passion is being expressed, we're feeling as though our needs are being met. And so when we go out in the world and we offer up our thing, we volunteer in the community, we interact with our team members, we're doing it from a stronger, more grounded place, a vibrant place, an excited place. And what ends up happening is your hormones respond. You'll get better sleep. Your testosterone will go up. You'll feel more confident. You'll have more energy, all the stuff that many women are longing for. It's fascinating to watch. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. So yes, we get to address nutrition and supplementation and get the right testing. We also get to start really being in self-reflection. And that's why yesterday, when I introduced myself, I say I'm a midwife, but I midwife women through chapters of change. And it's not Band-Aid care. This is not just put a Band-Aid on a symptom, but can we go to the foundation of how we be and how we really deeply honor ourselves and how we be in relationships? Okay. So I don't want you to get distracted. If anybody's like, oh, I'm going to go do the erotic blueprint now, quiz now. No. Stay focused here. I want you to stay present, and you can do it afterwards. And you can always come back and look. And then the shapeshifter, just as a heads up, the shapeshifter is able to kind of navigate all of them, has a little bit of all of it. And it's a really fascinating thing. The quiz is totally free. And if you've not ever filled it out, I really do encourage you, fill out the quiz. If you have a partner or a husband, have him or her fill it out as well. And then what happens is right when the quiz is done, a video will pop up and they'll say, hey, you're erotic blueprint. Here's a little bit about you. And if you watch it together, oh my gosh, it's been so good for my husband and I to go, wow, that makes so much sense. Just like we've used the 5 love language. Okay. Haven't done the quiz yet, but I feel like I would be sensual after listening to the description. Yeah, maybe. And maybe you'll be surprised. Who knows? But the thing to keep in mind is there's no good or bad. There's no good or bad love language. There's no good or bad erotic blueprint. There's no good or bad disc profile. It's simply just what is right now. And that can change. For those of you that have done the love language quiz before and you're in a new relationship, it's fascinating to do it again. My husband and I have been together for 16 years, and we've watched our love languages shift because we've found ways to better navigate giving and receiving love with one another. And inevitably, I always say, I will not change for you, but I cannot be with you without being changed by you. Let me say that again. It's good for everybody to hear. I will not change for you, but I cannot be with you without being changed by you. That's relationships. Relationships with all individuals, when we're spending time with them. We get to make adjustments to make sure that we're all feeling like our boundaries are being set and our needs are being met. Can my husband take the quiz? Yes, please. So what I was just saying is have both of you take the quiz. So my suggestion is both of you pull it up on your phone. Just do the free quiz. There's another one for $17. You can just do the free one. Both of you do the quiz. And then right afterwards, there will be a video that will pop up, and watch them together. So you watch his, he watches yours, and go, oh, in my scenario, my husband's energetic. And there was moments I didn't understand. I don't get it. I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. And for him, he was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. And so now it gives us something to dive into and have conversations about. And now I think that for ambitious women, because we exist often so much in our masculine in the working world, number one, that can change. But it becomes that much more important when we're home and we're navigating our relationships that we allow that feminine pull energy to be expressed. And so for me, I think often we get to start with our sensual lives, start with our sex lives, and really allow ourselves to feel really heard and seen and connect and be in that intuition and that surrender and that flow. Like if you imagine the visual of a river, the banks being the masculine, the water being the feminine, for us to spend time in that flow. Yeah. Okay. And just to reiterate, it's who am I now? When we're going to a place of, well, what is it that I desire? It's really, what do I desire now? Knowing that it's going to change. We're changing. We're ever dynamic beings, right? If you go to, let's go there. I'm going to jump around this workbook a little bit. But if we go to the last page where we talk about monthly rhythms and expectations, if you are still bleeding, for those of you that are still bleeding, day 1 is the first day that you bleed. Okay. And generally it's broken into 4 weeks. I think of that bleeding time as your winter. The next week are just about as springtime, your ovulatory time as summertime, and then your PMS week as fall. If you are no longer bleeding, or you're bleeding irregularly, or you're on contraception, then I encourage you to pay attention to the moon cycles, and you'll notice what season you're in based on full moon, new moon. So for those of you, just give me an idea, where are you in if you use that analogy of seasons? So once again, first day that you start bleeding, that's day 1. Let's assume you have a 28-day cycle. If you're not bleeding, that's generally the full moon or the new moon. That would be winter time. Even if you're in menopause. So if you're not bleeding, you pay attention to the full moon or the new moon. It's going to be harder to just come up with the answer right now. I encourage you to track it for the next 3 months. Listen to the things I'm about to say, and I want you to start paying attention to full moon and new moon for the next 3 months, and you're going to see a pattern. Okay, so week 1 is our winter time. It's our bleeding time. Okay, Erin normally bleeds on the new moon, but my cycle is getting shorter, so it's changing. Yeah, so as we progress, particularly on average, that 45 to 51 time Cycles will get a little bit shorter, a little bit more irregular. And so as we pay attention to this and we honor the season that we're in, when we're in our bleeding time, that's our winter time. If you're not bleeding, it will be either your full moon or your new moon time. That's the time where we get quiet. We allow a little bit more stillness. We turn off the socialization if we can, and we go inside. That's the time when our intuition is strong. That's the time to listen in, but it's not necessarily the time to take action. Okay. Then we go into our springtime, which is that next week. If you think about springtime, the buds are starting to come out. Some energy's coming up. We're going to start doing bigger exercise. Maybe you'll do power yoga. You'll hike a big mountain. You'll start training for a big race again. Okay. And then you go into summertime, which is going to be the opposite of either new moon or full moon. And summertime is when we're ovulating, for those of you that are on a regular cycle. That's the time to put things into action. So whatever it is that you've been percolating about, decisions to make in your career, in your relationship, in your home, in trips to make, that's the time to publish the book. That's the time to be on your TED Talk. That's the time to be out in the world. Okay. And so as we are spending time in self-reflection, and you're going, okay, erotic blueprint. I've never thought about that. My love language in a different context. Let me think about that a little bit and get quiet and let it percolate and allow it to go through a full rhythm, a full moon cycle. Remember, tides go out, tides go in. We as women are super dynamic, ever-changing beings. And we get to go, this is what I desire right now. What you desire right now will be based on who you are right now and the life that you've lived up till today, as well as where you are in your moon cycle. And the more we allow ourselves to honor that, it becomes potent. And some women say, well, I work a 9-to-5 or beyond corporate job. I can't control my hours. I go, okay, well, what can we control? Can we make shifts around working out in the morning before work versus allowing a pause? Can we make different choices outside of work with whether I'm socializing in big groups versus just with my intimate, closest friends? Can we make adjustments to what we're eating? In that fall time, we want warm foods, lots of spices. Springtime and summertime, raw food diet, let's go. Okay. Winter time, our bleeding time, lots of protein, lots of rest. Go to sleep earlier. Adjustments in what you wear. Your thongs and your cutest bra and your tight business suit. Yes, during your ovulatory time or summertime. Or for those of you that aren't bleeding, likely your new moon time. Whereas in that bleeding time, soft cloth, gentle, nothing super tight fitting. Hydrate well, lots of protein, slow, gentle with yourself. Can you reorganize and postpone a meeting? If you're, obviously, if I get a TED Talk, I'm just going to show up whenever they tell me to show up. But if there's something else, can I make a shift and say, that's not the best time? Or those moments where you're like, yeah, I'll host the party. And then the day comes and you're going, crap, why did I say I was going to host this? I do not want to be doing this right now. So the more that we track our cycles, either based on our bleeding time and or mixed with the moon, you'll see rhythms for yourself. And the more that you honor that rhythm, that's once again moving into pull energy. Okay. Good stuff, right? Okay, put in the chat. I'm talking a lot. Put in the chat. So far, we've covered a lot. What has been one thing that has been potent for you? One key takeaway so far. Love the concept of the seasons. Yeah, it's fun. The more you dig into it, it gets really juicy too. And you track there's so many tracking apps out there that will just track your ovulation and your temperature and your bleeding time. But I'm like, no, you can track your creativity. You can track your muscle aches. You can track your libido, your sleep. You can track your muscle aches and pains. You can track your constipation, your diarrhea, your desire to socialize, all of it. And you'll see a rhythm. And then if you end up working with someone like me, we get to get in there and go, okay, so during this specific season, during this specific week, here is a personalized plan of how to adjust how you move, what you eat, how you socialize. And, it's not about dogma. It doesn't need to feel like the walls are caving in and now everything has to be planned. Everything in moderation, even moderation, but it's potent. Okay. I totally get that I am more attractive and not just physically, but as in attract more positive energy when I'm ovulating. Absolutely. And part of that is hormonal. Part of it is just we have more confidence. And so the more that we cultivate and honor the rhythms in our months and in our weeks and in our days, watch, your energy becomes more of that pull magnetic energy. The woman, no matter her shape, no matter her size, she can walk into a room and you feel her. She has potent pull magnetic energy. It's feminine. And it's often a woman who really honors herself. So seasons don't really resonate for me right now, but paying attention to how I'm feeling and rhythm is valuable for me. Okay, cool. Erica, so stay focused on what is the thing that is working for you. So what I'm hearing is paying attention to how I'm feeling and rhythm is valuable for me. How is it valuable for you? I feel like I had to regulate me so that I can be the same person every day. I need to think about how to honor me and the stage I'm in. Nicole, I would invite you to maybe be open to shifting that expectation of yourself. You don't need to be the same person every day. You get to be dynamic and ever changing. Maybe there are some core values that you want to keep consistent, that you want to be kind, that you want to speak your truth, that you want to be compassionate. That's a lot of pressure for anyone to carry, to think that we have to be the same all the time. So yeah, awesome. That's really powerful, Nicole. And I like the rhythmic aspects of life, especially older in menopause, that cultivation of creativity and internal, external energy. Oh, I just got a foot cramp. Yeah, it's good to think about. Okay, so we've talked about pull and push energy. We've talked about empowered and disempowered, masculine and feminine. We've talked about rhythms. We dove a little bit into love languages and erotic blueprint from this perspective of passion. And once again, why do I talk about this? Because I want each and every one of you to live exceptional lives. And that means attracting exceptional belonging and love and friendships and health and vitality and sex and financial abundance. And receiving is receiving. And so we have the esteemed privilege of looking in and saying, how do I make adjustments so that I can consistently feel turned on by my life, my lover, and myself? Okay, put in the chat. There's a couple more things in the workbook that I really want to dig into. One is more around sexuality and libido. The other one is more logical. I'm going to cover both. Where do you want to go next? So the logical, let's talk about nutrition and supplementation and adaptogens and hydration and testing. Where do we want to go next? Let's put it in the chat. I'm keeping hydrated. Where do you want to go? Are we on intellectual overload or do you want to go back into kind of feeling space? This gets to be personalized, especially for those of you that are on live. For those of you that are watching the replay, I encourage you to reach out to Ashley. Let her know what's coming up for you. Let her know any big key takeaways. I'm looking in the Facebook group too. All right, no one is chiming in. Supplementation and nutrition. Okay, everybody wants to talk nutrition. Let's get into some nitty gritty. Let's do it. Let's go there. And then we'll go back because I'm going to go back to libido. It's an important conversation to have. Okay, so we want to increase consistent energy. Let's talk first about nutrition. So yesterday I talked about blood sugars. I cannot stress it enough. Your blood sugars and keeping them stable throughout the day is so vital. So revisit that, okay? Making sure that you're getting quality protein and fat first thing in the morning. Making sure that you're getting a wide variety of colors. Okay, 7 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is at least the ideal. Can you look at every day? I've ingested every color, and food coloring and M&Ms don't count. And at a minimum, each meal has 3 different colors, right? We're not skipping meals. If you're like, this is really new for me, I don't really know what glycemic index is. How do I know if it has protein and fat? Obviously your salmons, your meats, your nuts, your seeds, your chia seeds, your hemp seeds, all your nuts, your sprouts, those are all going to be great sources of protein. Dairy-free yogurt and kefir, right? Tofu. There's lots of sources of protein, but also a lot of plants are phenomenal sources of protein. So beans and rice mixed together, lentils, beans, legumes, broccoli is actually a great source of protein. And so if on the other hand, many women will come in, I had cereal for breakfast or a muffin or a Starbucks. It's a lot of sugar, not much protein, not much fat. That's going to send you on a roller coaster. So now you've got a roller coaster of emotions, you've got a roller coaster of hormones, you've got a roller coaster of energy level. Okay, regarding intermittent fasting, I'm not a fan of intermittent fasting in the morning, specifically for women who are wanting to maximize their hormonal well-being and their adrenal well-being. Okay, so when you wake within 30 to 60 minutes of waking, I believe you need to get sunlight on your face, specifically on your eyes, and quality protein, fiber, and fat within 30 to 60 minutes of waking. And then throughout the day, we never go more than 4 hours without some quality fiber, fat, protein. A lot of that can come from plants. So at least half your plate is coming from fruits, vegetables, and berries. And yes, they need to be organic. It's just a non-negotiable. I mean, if what we know about our gut health, it's the second brain, okay? You want serotonin, the hormone that makes you feel happy and connected in community, right? Like antidepressants, most of them are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, meaning they go directly and impact serotonin. Guess what, my friends? 90% of it comes from your gut. So most pesticides, what they do is they are on the plant and they attack the gut of the bugs. And then we ingest those plants. So we are attacking our own gut well-being. We are throwing off our own hormonal well-being. So yes, really, truly organic. And I know many people say it's more expensive. I say you get to invest now or pay later. If you're going to do an intermittent fast, it's in the evening time. Okay. So yes, finish caloric intake within 4 hours of going to bed. No late night snacking, no alcohol in the evening to wind down. There's other ways that you can wind down and then sleep through the night. Okay. What are other ways that you can wind down? You can limit your eyes' access to screens, blue lights, wear your blue light blockers, turn the screens on, TVs off. If you're wanting a drink to wind down, it's kava, it's lemon balm, it's chamomile, okay? Not alcohol. Alcohol, yes, it gives you the feeling that you're winding down, but it's actually a sedative. Just like Ambien, you'll think that you slept like a log, but that log is actually not getting into REM or deep sleep. So you're not actually getting rest and restoration. You're just a log. Okay, so nutrition for energy, greens, lots and lots of greens, green powders. Nutrition for more sensuality, sexuality. Go back to think about texture. What tastes good? What feels good on my tongue? What brings pleasure to my life? Okay. For women that come into my space, I'm not big on calorie counting and meal planning and anything that feels restrictive. Yes, for some women, like gluten doesn't serve you or dairy doesn't serve you. For all of us, I can tell you sugar doesn't serve you. But we get to navigate it in a way that feels expansive and expressive. Not in this like, oh, woe is me, poor me, I'm a victim, I can't have. But instead, I choose not to because I choose to feel spectacular. Okay, Erica says it is not coming naturally to me to eat within a few hours of waking. That's typically when I have the most energy for work and I want to dive in. I've been doing elixirs within a couple hours of waking and then usually eat an hour or two after that. I also find that I like to get time outside midday. I live in a condo and getting morning. Okay, so make it simple. Have a handful of nuts. Make your elixir. Erica, you already have the powders and everything. Put the powders together the night before. So now you've got your collagen powder, you have your adaptogen powder, you've probably mixing in some dandy blend. All you have to do in the morning is add hot water, add your fat source. So whether it's MCT oil or CBD oil or avocado oil, olive oil, whatever you're going to add, your nut milk and your sweetener to taste. And I want you to be drinking it within 30 to 60 minutes of waking. For those of you that don't know, Erica is in my year-long program. So I know her well and I can say that more directly. You can also just eat a hard-boiled egg, a handful of nuts. You can take a tall glass of water and put some green powder and some collagen powder in there. We're getting something started, okay? You can make homemade Jell-O. You don't need the fancy sugar and food coloring. All you need is gelatin and juice. Look it up. You just gelatin and juice. Sipping on gin and juice. Okay, I'm staying focused. Gelatin and juice. You just make some Jell-O and now you've got that. Gelatin's a great source of protein if you're not vegan. Sprouts. A piece of toast with some avocado on it. Okay. Something that is quick because Erica, what I can tell you is once again, you do now or you pay later. If you're going right into work mode, I hear you. I love being creative in the morning. I start my day with a tall glass of water. For me, I put either lemon juice or apple cider vinegar in there. And then I make sure that within 30 to 60 minutes of waking, I've at least had something. I start with my adaptogen elixir. At Costco, I buy the organic hard-boiled eggs that are already shelled. So quick, cut it in half, put some nutritional yeast and salt on top, good to go. I've at least got something. Now, there's fat and protein, but not necessarily fiber. Okay. So fiber is going to come in the form of maybe a whole grain gluten-free bread, some source of produce. Okay. For many people, they think fruit. Yes, fruit is good. But fruit can also be quite a glycemic load. So if you're having fruit, mix it with some dairy-free yogurt, put some ground flax on top, put some chia seeds, some hemp seeds, some nuts, something else that's adding additional protein. Okay. Supplementation, specifically for energy and for passion. Some supplementation that I think is important for anyone and everyone. Once again, I'm not your provider in this scenario. Erica, I think for everyone that's on right now, Erica is the only one that is within my inner circle. So, I would much prefer to know you well and to be able to look at your Dutch test and have reviewed your GI map and your food diary to really know your specific scenario. But supplements that tend to be great for everyone, vitamin D as in dog. Most of us are depleted, okay? When you look at your most recent blood test, often it will say a normal range in the US is 25 to 100, okay? My preference is that your 25 hydroxy vitamin D is between 60 and 80, okay? Vitamin D is going to be helpful for energy, for bone health, for immune health, for hormonal well-being, for mood, for immune system. And so for many, upping that vitamin D can really impact energy as well as a lot of other things. Supplementing with extra adaptogens. So when we talk about adaptogens and supplements, this is in the same world. So I mentioned it yesterday, but adaptogens come from the mushroom, botanical, and plant kingdom. They help the body better adapt to stress. Okay, so I mentioned today, I did encapsulated cordyceps. Cordyceps is usually also in my adaptogen elixir. It is an adaptogen that is known for stamina. My phone keeps ringing. So rather than having your cup of joe or your caffeine source, you'd be surprised to see what cordyceps can do. Hydration can make a big difference for energy. For some individuals, ashwagandha can be really potent, specifically if you have a sluggish thyroid or you've got a sluggish immune system. Okay. If you're tired, like your brain is tired and you just can't keep the brain firing throughout the day, often adding in a methylated B complex or some lion's mane can be really helpful there. And once again, staying hydrated. Remember, our brain is pretty much fat and water. So are you getting an ample quality fat throughout the day? And are you hydrating well throughout the day? Another supplement that I'm a big fan of is Juice Plus. I've taken it for now, I think 17 years. They take vine ripened fruits, vegetables, and berries, pulverize them. So first they freeze them, I think, then pulverize, then put it under low heat dehydration and then encapsulate them. So they're still considered raw, the plants themselves. And most of the plants, it's the whole plant in its entirety. So it's able to ripen on the vine. For you to just something for you to know is that any plant that you're eating, it's going to have more nutritional density when it's given the opportunity to ripen on the vine. So right now we go into the grocery store and we want to buy beautiful organic produce. And it was grown in a farm in XYZ place that went on a truck and maybe an airplane and then another truck to get to the grocery store so that it could still look nice on our shelves. And then we buy it and we want it to last a few more days so we can bring it home and store it in the fridge for us to eat it. And so inevitably what that means is it's picked well before it's ripened. And so it's not given the opportunity to really have that nutritional density that we're looking for. So the more that you can buy local, the more that you can do a CSA, the more that things like Juice Plus, where we know that they're picked at their peak of ripeness. And then the aspects of the plant that we often skip, like broccoli, the stem, it has value. Okay. Resveratrol is such a great nutrient for our cardiovascular well-being, as well as our hormonal well-being. For some of you, if I get the opportunity to look at your Dutch test, based on how you're metabolizing or methylating your estrogen, for some, resveratrol is potent. And so that's common in grapes, but ironically, it's the most of it is in the stem of the grapes. And so then we go, okay, how do we incorporate the stem? Can you throw the stem in your blender? Or when I go back to Juice Plus, the stem of the grape is included. Okay, so supplements, your green powders is another thing. My favorite green powder on the market is by Inner Light Greens. So yummy. I add it in with water and I swear it makes me feel like my cells just come alive. I'm like, yeah, here we go. Let's go. Other adaptogens to keep in mind. So shatavari is one that was really good for that sexual juiciness, but also just like the feminine masculine dance. Shatavari and ashwagandha have that dance together. I love this one in my drawer. There's this fun herbalist that I know, and she makes something called Snake Charmer. And so this is lovely for libido. So it's Mora, Puama, Katuaba, Ashwagandha, Shatavari, and Maca. So Maca is another one. For those of you that have low testosterone or you're curious if maybe your testosterone needs a little bit of an amp, Maca powder, you can add it into your smoothies. You can add it into your elixirs. Is great to help increase testosterone. The other thing is sleep. Your body, the 2 times in your day where your body will produce the most testosterone is number 1, when you're sleeping. And number 2 is when you're doing weight-bearing exercise. Okay. So and then let's think, what other adaptogens do I want to bring up? For immune health, chaga and reishi If you've heard of either of those, they're great for just foundational immune health. Dark chocolate, don't feel so guilty about dark chocolate. It does have value, particularly during our PMS week or for needing some extra manganese. And, I think sometimes there are times where you need to listen to the cravings. If your body is craving a certain food, listen in and go, okay, why is it craving that? Hydration, I've already brought that up. I've already talked about it a good amount, but that's super important. Okay, your hydration lubricates your joints. It helps your body maintain the suppleness in your skin. And people say, how much? The most common thing that you'll hear is half your body weight in ounces. If it were up to me, it'd be more like your full body weight in ounces. And then tests to ask for. I already touched on that yesterday. Does anybody have any questions about the tests that I've already mentioned? If so, put it in the chat. What about dark pumpernickel bread? If dark pumpernickel bread is a bread that you really love, then great. I think for many individuals, gluten can be quite inflammatory. And the tests that are on the marketplace to see if you have celiacs or gluten sensitivity, I think are just not that great. But I would highly encourage that you try taking out gluten for as much as a month if possible and see if it makes any difference. For most people, I see a big shift. And it's not that gluten is bad. It's that the way it's grown and the way that it's been so genetically modified, it becomes so inflammatory to the body. And so I know many individuals where they can get gluten from Europe, let's say, where it's not so pesticide filled, it's not so genetically modified, and their body handles it very differently. I took out gluten maybe 7 years ago, and I went in kicking and screaming. I don't have an issue. I don't want to do this. And I could not believe the difference. It was profound. Up till that point, I had suffered with chronic neck pain for 8 years. I had seen 2 neurosurgeons that both told me I needed complete reconstructive surgery on my cervical spine. And I felt tired and achy. And I had a pretty dang clean diet. And it was spectacular. To take out caffeine and take out gluten was an absolute game changer. And the pain went away. And I've tried playing around with, but I would love to have a croissant. Or, every once in a while, I want to, I don't know, go to someone's house and have a beautiful baguette. But every time I do, I end up feeling constipated and I end up having aches and pains in my body again. And it's just simply not worth it. So I encourage you to just give it a try if you're open to that. And anytime you're taking something out, it's not just about what you take out, but what do you choose to replace it with so that it's coming from an empowered place, right? Not I can't have, but I choose to choose this other thing instead so that I can feel spectacular. Do you know where to find hemp bread? I can't find it anywhere. I don't, but I would look just in your general area, look at the natural food store. I mean, right now I have someone every Sunday, she delivers a fresh baguette of gluten-free sourdough bread. It's spectacular. And so sometimes it's just reaching out in your community to find someone who makes a hemp bread, or maybe you try making your own. That's a fun challenge if you have the time and energy. Okay, it is so hard to eliminate gluten and dairy, but I feel 100 times better when I don't eat it. Well, I think whether you think it is or you think it isn't, you're right. And, once again, when you're taking something out, is it coming from a place of excitement to feel good? Is it coming from a place of I'm replacing it with things that really excite me? And are you incorporating in a sense of accountability? Okay. So we get to go, all right, here's this thing that I want to change. Okay. I realize I'm spending too much of my time in pull energy or push energy. Okay. And just to say, like in this pull push, that doesn't mean you're in pull all the time. Like we don't get to just live our lives out frolicking in the fields, picking flowers all day. Like my hope is that you also want to be productive at times, right? Or you're realizing, I'm really expecting my partner to only speak my love language, or I didn't really relate to him and honor how he is in his erotic blueprint, or I want to try taking out gluten. I want to try taking out dairy. Okay. So first we get to go, what is it that I want to try doing? And then you ask yourself, why? Why do I want to do this thing? And I actually encourage you to ask yourself why a minimum of 3 times, ideally 6 times. So I want to cut out gluten and dairy. Why? Okay. Because when I do, I have less bloating. I have less aches and pains in my body. Okay. I also have more energy. Okay. Why is that important? Why is it important? Well, that's important because when I have aches and pains in my body, I feel sluggish. I'm unproductive at work. I don't like to leave the house. I don't feel so social. And I know when I'm not social, I end up feeling more lonely and more depressed. Okay. Why is that important? Well, when I'm not social and I feel more lonely and depressed, then I get really sad. And then I eat really crappy food and I sleep more and I put on weight. And then I feel even more lonely and depressed. So whatever it is for you, ask the question, whatever it is you're wanting to change, ask it at least 3 times, because that, my friend, will be the thing that will continue to keep you moving in taking the steps towards the change. Okay. Then I invite you, once you get clear on what you want to change and why you want to change it, the next question is who. And I don't think that we are meant to create change in a silo. I don't think that we are meant to do anything alone. Okay? You get to find out who will be your accountability. Who will be the person that you make the announcement to, I'm going to do this thing. And hopefully it's someone who is trained and skilled at being able to support you in that thing. So you realize you want to have more energy. You want to tackle that your menstrual cycles are out of whack. You want to tackle that there are aspects of how you're being that you know is not serving you for your career goals, whatever it may be. You don't have to be the expert at all things. Let me say it again. You don't have to be the expert at all things. You get to go find someone else and ask them for directions to places that they've been and rely on someone else to give you the accountability and the expertise. Okay. In this scenario, I have been serving women for 22 years. I have my master's from Yale and functional medicine trained, and I have been running the women's health since 2007. Okay. So that does not mean that you have to go figure it out all by yourself and figure out what you're going to change in your diet and your supplementation and read your own tests and try to cut gluten and dairy out all by yourself. I say you find some accountability. You find your who, and you announce to that who, or possibly a community, that this is a change that you're wanting to make. And then anytime you find yourself stumbling, you go back to your why. Why did I say that I wanted to do this? And so Feather, when it feels hard, you get to go, why did I want to do this? Where can I make it fun? Where it's not just, oh, I can't have, but what are some fun things I can replace it with? And let me go back and rely on my community, rely on my accountability. Okay. And that's where coming into my circle really shows up, because it's depending on if you end up coming into one of my programs, some of them have really deep community. And so you have an embedded accountability system and a community of women that are going through something similar. Okay. Question. Is a shake in the morning with either complete or perform a good source of the protein and fat, or should I add a hard-boiled egg and some avocado as well? Okay. So a protein powder, like a plant-based protein powder, great. When you if you make your elixir in the morning and your protein source is the protein powder, right? You have your adaptogen, You have your protein powder. You add in a fat source like MCT, avocado oil, olive oil. Awesome. Add your hot water, your nut milk, and your sweetener to taste. Yum, yum. Okay. And so Feather, yeah, if you're doing a shake in the morning and you want to add a hard-boiled egg, the nice thing about plant-based protein powders, especially if they have a nice wide variety, Feather, I know you use the Juice Plus protein powder. That's got 10 different additional forms of produce in there and all the sprouted grains, ancient grains, right? Broccoli sprouts and yucca and broccoli sprouts. That's phenomenal. So you're getting some additional plants. And the beauty of that is not just the protein and the fat and the fiber, but it's also bringing in what's called a prebiotic. I'm not going to go too much on a tangent, but prebiotics help the good bacteria do a better job at what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. Any other questions on this and on tests? Because I talked about tests yesterday. The hormones to really keep in mind when we're thinking about energy and libido, getting your 24-hour cortisol curve, that will show up in a Dutch Plus test. So we can actually look at your cortisol in the morning, your cortisol in the afternoon, your cortisol in the evening is significant. Okay. We want to look at your immune function, your inflammation, your testosterone level, your estrogen, your progesterone. They're all relevant in this conversation. Okay. So it's not just how we be and how we think, although that's really important, but also looking quantifiably at what's underneath the hood. How we doing? Okay. Put in the chat. Key takeaway so far. What have we talked about? We've talked about pull and push energy. We've talked about empowered and disempowered masculine and feminine. We've talked about erotic blueprints, love languages, nutrition, supplementation, rhythms, seasons, feminine power. Key takeaway. Could just be a word. And then I'm feeling like we're about done. I want to get into this last piece. I want to encourage you once again, no matter what it is that you're going through, if you still have questions or you're in a place of self-reflection and you're going, wow, okay, this would be good. Reach out to Ashley, have a conversation. So I'm seeing awareness, pull, push, nutrition, libido, please, with a question mark. I'll go into it. And then power of change. Yeah, the power of change. Change is potent. It's also confronting and it's not safe. Our nervous system in the midst of change goes, not safe. And so we get to butt up against that because change is also where the most growth and spectacular shows up on the other side. Okay, Ashley just put her link in the chat. Nutrition and power of change. Okay. So regarding our conversation with our sexuality and sensuality, once again, I want you to feel turned on by your life, your lover, and yourself. Okay. You are doing big things in the world. You are serving many. You get to have your own cup filled up. And if you have questions around libido specifically, we need to get into this conversation. Yes, we can look at your testosterone level. Yes, we can look at your inflammation and your thyroid and your DHEA level and all of that. And those are simple changes. For some, it's vaginal dryness or vaginal pain, and that's the thing that's in the way. And there's a lot that we can do to make those adjustments. But if we go back to the workbook, I put in there pumpkin hours. So I love this idea about pumpkin hours. Oh, first, wait, before that was what does sex provide for me? So this is a great conversation for you to think about and then also bring it to your partnership and have a conversation. So ask yourself, what does sex provide for me? What does it provide for me? Does it provide for me a release, a way to feel connected, exercise, body movement, a source of creativity, release and pleasure? Yeah. I'm seeing mother pride and astonishment. My mom says mother pride and astonishment. My mom's on today. That's so awesome. What does sex provide for me when it's at a certain time in the day? If it's after yoga, if it's in the morning, if it's at night before going to bed. if it's at 2:00 in the morning, if it's a quickie right before work, if it's in the shower. This is confronting, but we're going to have this conversation. Write it down. What does sex provide for me? What does different kinds of sex provide for me? Long, extended, short, in the bedroom, in the kitchen, oral. And as you allow yourself to think, what is it? And maybe you're like, I don't even know. If you don't know, I say that this is a really, really important conversation to dig into. Because we are beautiful, spectacular physical beings. And we get to have sexual energy without guilt and shame. Particularly for you, if it's important that this conversation is within a safe monogamous relationship. And if you're not in relationship, it gets to be in a place of self-exploration. And so the more that we start asking ourselves these questions, I encourage you to also, if you're in partnership, ask your partner to ask him or herself the same questions. And you'll be surprised. Often as women, we make the assumption that for our male partners, it's just a release, especially for the women that are saying, I don't have any libido. He can just do it on his own. He just needs a release. But when you actually allow some vulnerability and safety to have the conversation, what does it provide for you? Does it provide a safe place to cry, a safe place to feel, an opportunity to love your body? If you're one of those women that looks in the mirror with a lot of self-loathing, does it provide you an opportunity to be in self-love? Think about frequency. If it's every day, what does that provide for me? If it's once a month, what does that provide for me? And then I encourage you to come back together within your partnership, within your relationship, and talk about this together and share. And do it in a time when you feel ready to receive whatever he or she is going to say without reacting, without taking it personal. Because I don't know what you'll hear back. But I promise it will be surprising. And it's important. It's an important conversation to have. The next question is pumpkin hours. Okay, so if you think about Cinderella, when the clock strikes midnight and everything turns back to the pumpkin and her beautiful gown, okay? We all have pumpkin hours. So what are those hours in which your partner asking or instigating a lovemaking session will bring up in you resentment? Maybe it's certain time of day. Maybe it's certain circumstances. You're like, not, that's a pumpkin hour for me. For me, if I'm asleep, so between like 1 and 4 a.m., that's a pumpkin hour for me. Because I know with where I am in my journey of perimenopause, if you wake me, I can't go back to sleep. And I'll be up. My mind is racing and my body's tired. And I'm like, that's a pumpkin hour. Don't wake me up. Want some sleep. If I've just showered and my curls aren't set yet, that's a pumpkin hour for me. Wait. If I'm like really in creative space and I'm working, I feel resentful if he comes in. And so think about it for you. What are my pumpkin hours? And invite your partner to do the same. And then come together and have the conversation. Next is cup fillers. So Alice, a lot of this comes from Allison Armstrong. I got to interview her in my podcast. Oh my gosh, I was like so starstruck. It's one of the very first episodes. If you go to the Women's Vibrancy Code podcast and go way back to like episode 3 or something, I got to interview Allison Armstrong. But so she talks about cup fillers and she uses the example of our berry basket. So we all walk around with this basket. And in it, we get to fill up our berries. Okay. So your berries are the things that you desire. And so maybe for you, really what you desire is just, oh my gosh, if he comes home and he helps with some of the laundry and the dishes, I'm seeing a head nod, right? That's filling up your berry basket. Really? I just want you to spend some time with the kids and let me go out of the house for a moment. Or I want you to take me out to tea. Okay. If you're in a relationship where you feel kind of hunted, like he's wanting it more than you feel ready to provide, that's not filling up your berry basket. That's taking berries out. A woman wants to feel safe and cared for and heard and seen. So we need to think about, what are my cup fillers? What are my berries? What are the things that I actually desire to receive within this partnership? You bring me tea, there's some berries in the basket. You sit down, because my love language is quality time. You sit down and we have a conversation where I get to communicate circularly in my feminine way, and I feel really heard and seen. You're not offering solutions, you're just listening. There's berries in the basket. And when the berry basket is full, that's when we appreciate. We'll either initiate lovemaking or we respond to the initiation of. And so allow yourself to think, what are my cup fillers? He plans the date. He takes you out of the house. He gives you a foot rub, cleans the toilet, whatever it is for you. What are your cup fillers? And I encourage you to ask him, I'm assuming heterosexual, but him or her, ask him, what are his cup fillers? I think it's mainly women. We have the berry basket a little bit more. Most men are like, I'm good to go whenever you're ready. When you think about the arousal system, a woman's arousal system is responsive. A male-bodied individual's arousal system is spontaneous, meaning there can be a nuclear bomb sirens going off and a naked woman walks in front of a man and he's like, ready to go. It's spontaneous, right? Whereas for a woman, we are responsive. We need our berry basket to be filled up. And that adds up moment after moment after moment throughout the day, throughout the week. We respond. We respond to moments of feeling safe and cared for and heard and seen. And so back to the female entrepreneur who is go, 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 do, produce, protect. What's very likely is you're not even allowing space for someone to add berries to your basket. So go back to that pull-push experience. Go back into more of your energy that feels like it's pull. It's your empowered feminine. It's your disempowered feminine either as well. And allow someone to put the berries in. And when your berry basket is filled, there's your libido. There's your desire. There's your essence being expressed. Yep. And finding a safe way to have this conversation with your partner, because they don't get it. Like, oh, let's have this erotic blueprint conversation. Oh, you have a berry basket? I had no idea. What are your berries? Right? And then there could be those silly moments where he's like, I'm putting a berry in. I just did the dishes. There's some berries. It's blackberries this time. Right? Allow it to be playful and fun. And then indicators. So the indicators are his nervous system communicating with your nervous system, or your nervous system communicating with his nervous system. It's finding what are our agreed upon indicators, our cues. For instance, you're tired, it's been a long day, your berry basket feels empty, and you're getting into bed and he wants to spoon and cuddle and you're like, oh no, he just wants to make love or have sex and I'm like so not into it. And you pull away. Okay. What if actually what's happening is he's just as tired and he just wants to cuddle? So what if you have the conversation of, what are the indicators? Like, babe, if I just want to cuddle with you, I really just want to cuddle with you. But if I try to spoon you and at the same time I caress your shoulder in this way, that's me giving you an indicator. So can we have agreements of like, this is how I communicate what I actually desire so that particularly for women, we don't feel hunted. We get to take the pressure off. And oh my gosh, this is just a moment where you're just putting berries in my basket. You're really just giving me a foot rub and you're not expecting anything more afterwards. I can take a breath. I can feel safe. I can let go. Okay. So to allow both of you, both verbal and nonverbal. So maybe there's certain words. It's like, okay, I realize I had no idea what sex actually provided for you. Wow, I didn't realize that. Okay, can we come up with some agreements that when my berry basket is filled, that this is your indicator or this is my indicator that I'm open to the idea. And here's my indicator that I'm not. And we're not going to take it personal. And that can be verbal and that can also be nonverbal. So this becomes tools to be able to utilize and have in the midst of your relationship and talk about so that you can feel connected. Because here's the deal. If you are in relationship, we have relationships with all different people all around the world, right? But one of the few things that makes your relationship with your intimate sexual partner different is the fact that you are intimate and physical and sexual. And some of you might have multiple sexual partners, but it's still, that's the thing that makes it unique and different. And we get to honor that. We get to navigate it and figure out what are our unmet needs and what does this actually provide for us? And can we find ways to feel like our needs are being met and our love language is being utilized and our erotic blueprint type is being utilized? And we're getting to know one another. We're in a place of curiosity and self-exploration. And then the last piece is the end game, the aftermath. So after an orgasm, your testosterone is high and your oxytocin is high. Ironically, as women progress through our 40s and 50s and beyond, the testosterone and oxytocin is not quite as high. So for a woman in her 20s and 30s, afterwards, she really wants to cuddle. She really wants to bond. And as women get older, afterwards, they're like, that was fun. Okay, on to the next thing in general. Ironically, for male-bodied individuals, it's the opposite. In their 20s and 30s, afterwards, they're like, okay, moving on, let's go. And the woman's like, oh, but I want to cuddle. I want to talk. And I'm being kind of, I don't mean to be teasing at all. And then as a man progresses more into his 40s, 50s, and beyond, afterwards, he's got this big surge of oxytocin and he wants to cuddle and really connect. It's so fascinating. I've seen facial expressions like, and so we just kind of like, oh, all right, passing in the night. How do we find ways to match up and allow each of our needs to be met? And so then we get to have the conversation about afterwards. Does the conversation need to be short? Does it need to be long? What does cuddling offer me? Often afterwards, I go right to like creative thought forms or jumping right to like what I'm going to make for dinner tomorrow or a thought form about my friend. And he's like, what? And then we just laugh about it because we're in very different places in our lives. Right. Okay. This is a lot to cover today. Put in the chat any thoughts, any questions. I just want to once again, I know I've said this before, but Ashley's here as your friend. Okay. Just connect with her, have a call. I want to make sure that you're all clear. Tomorrow we'll be talking a little bit more about what does this look like to dive in more? What if I want to have my Dutch Plus test and my GI map done and I want those tests reviewed? What if I do want to come into a community where I can feel like I have a place of accountability and Maraya and my master coaches can be there to hold space for you? Maybe you're like, I really am longing for in-person stuff. Yes, I do host in-person women's retreats. I also do 1-day VIP days that are online. And so maybe for you, you're going, what does that look like? I have a couple just self-paced courses where you can just dig into all of this in your own timing. And then just twice a month, there's a Facebook Live that's Q&A. So there's a lot of different options as it relates to coming into the space. Obviously, we've made a lot of ground. This has been almost 3 hours together this week. And we've covered a lot, and there's so much more. Okay. Hopefully you've really enjoyed and taken away some big nuggets that give you something to chew on, some tangible, personalized next steps to take, but also in a place of, okay, if you are saying, I'm ready for more, I'm hungry, I feel ready to feel spectacular, I want to feel more energized, I want to have answers to my hormonal well-being and my adrenal well-being, and what does that look like to care for my thyroid and my liver and my gut health? And if that's you and you're saying, I really do have questions, I highly encourage you to have a conversation with Ashley. She can be there to kind of give you the hand holding. Some of the ways to come and work with me, you can just go ahead and just sign up. Others actually is an application process. So to come into my inner circle, there's an application process to attend the next women's retreat is in March. There's currently only 2 spots left for that. And that's also an application process. And they're all spectacular. No matter what it is, there's a few things that I can say always happen when women come into my space. They come alive, like really come alive. And especially for like the year-long deep dive, which is either all one-on-one or in a group setting with me and the master coaches, women say it's the year that changed the trajectory of the rest of their life. And it makes me smile. It's so fun. And there's always a moment where pretty much 100% at this point of the women that come into my space will at some point say, I've never said this out loud before, but, or and. And I go, okay, we've made it. We've gotten to that place where you feel safe and you're ready to allow yourself to be exposed and be seen. And that's where I get to midwife. I get to midwife you through the chapters of change, and it's spectacular. And it lights me up, and it's when my essence gets to be expressed. And so just know that there's lots of options. I do want to say out loud right now, because I'm doing this workshop, there are some kind of time-dependent pieces. So have your conversation with Ashley. If you say yes to whatever it is you're going to say yes to, before close of business tomorrow, which is Friday, I am gifting an online VIP day with me. Okay, so an online VIP day is generally $5,000 for the full day. It's me and the master coaches. But for a woman who says yes, I really appreciate yes women. Like, let's not beat around the bush. I'm hungry. I feel this. It's a full body yes. Let's go. And so for that woman, I'm like, okay, let's go here. And I get to honor that let's go energy with a 1-day deep dive. I cap the VIP day usually at 5 women. So it's intimate and it's personalized. And it's like I said, it's usually me and one of the master coaches. Currently, the master coaches that I have as part of the team it's me. There's a dietitian she's amazing. Oh my gosh. There's a trauma release specialist. There's a mindset coach, and there's a sexologist. And so we all get to collaborate and in a multidisciplinary team support you. And so that is the one thing for you to keep in mind. If you're feeling like, okay, this has been awesome, I'm hungry for more, have the conversation with Ashley. And time kind of is of the essence if you want that VIP day. The second piece is if you instead say, I need some more time. I want to attend the Q&A tomorrow. I want to have a conversation with Ashley, give myself some time to kind of ruminate and think about this. As long as you say yes before close of business December 22nd, I'm giving away, I will pay for the cost of a comprehensive thyroid panel. And I'll also go over all of your labs over the last 12 months. Okay. So if you choose to come into my year-long mastermind program, I'm already paying for the cost of your Dutch Plus test and your GI map. So then I add in that comprehensive thyroid panel, and right away we'll meet and I'll go over all of the labs over the last 12 months. And if you choose a different package, then that's a really nice add-on because depending on what you choose, that's not always offered. And the other thing I want to say out loud is call a spade a spade. We're in the holidays. If you're like, yeah, I'm a yes, but I don't want to do a yes and start something right now. It's Christmas, it's Hanukkah, and you want to say yes now, but start January 1st, fine. All good. We're good. As long as you can do monthly installments or you can do pay in full. There's all different options. I also have financing options. So you can talk about all of that with Ashley. But if you do end up saying yes, but I want to wait and start January 1st, that's just fine. Okay. Enough of that. And really, it's just communicate with Ashley. Let her know. Come on tomorrow. Join us. It's going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific instead of 9. And we'll be on for an hour and I can answer any other questions. Let me look in the chat. And then also, I still have 12 more minutes. So if there's anything, any question goes at this point. If there's something that I've talked about so far that you have more questions about, put it in the chat. Okay, so much to ingest and process. Yeah, it's good. I like that. It's good for us to ingest and process. It's good for us to be in a place of self-reflection. I always say just outside our comfort zone and in the supportive community is where magic happens. That's why when you lift weights, the muscles tear a little bit and then they grow. We get to try new things. I was having that conversation this week with my kids, on stage, and my daughter's doing her first play. It seems my husband and I have reversed our roles here. Everything you are describing as the male in the situation is very much me. I have plenty of sexual desire. This was wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. And so when that role is replaced, or then still have the same conversation, maybe for him, he needs to figure out what are his desires. Is his essence being expressed? And so it's the same conversation. Can you each get clear on what are my pumpkin hours? What are my indicators? And then come together and have the conversation. Dive into the erotic blueprint. So now that you can go, oh, this is how I'm not meeting your needs. And now I understand why that's important to you. Thank you so much for this today. So much great content. It's an hour to be in your space, an honor to be in your space. Thanks, Erin. I'm looking forward to chatting tomorrow. Thank you. I've really enjoyed this session. Can't wait to watch yesterday's session. Yeah, absolutely. And the replays will be available for a week. Same with tomorrow's. And so you can always rewatch it. I've covered a lot. So if you want to rewatch and take more notes and then reach out to Ashley with your questions. I'd love to do the deep dive day. I'm very hungry. Okay, awesome. Have the conversation with Ashley and figure out kind of which route is. And you can also just buy a deep dive day. So there's lots of options. Just have the conversation with Ashley. Erica says, yes, please. Yes, please to what, Erica? And yesterday we talked about vaginal dryness and you recommended something other than DHEA. What was it? Okay. So for vaginal dryness, specifically postmenopausal or from the estrogen dropping, there's a few things that I would suggest you start with. One is make sure you're really hydrating and eating quality fats. Second is there's a supplement called, it's not a supplement, it's a suppository. It's called Reverie. And what it is hyaluronic acid put in vaginal suppository form. So many of us know hyaluronic acid. We use it for our facials. It helps maintain hydration. And so Reverie is hyaluronic acid in a vaginal suppository. And so many women have great response just in maintaining moisture. The other thing is with DHEA, you can take it orally, start at like a 5 milligram. And DHEA is an adrenal androgen. So it's not really a hormone. It's a precursor to a hormone. So it converts to estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So DHEA is awesome for stamina, energy, mood, immune health, as well as hormonal well-being. And you can actually get DHEA in vaginal suppository form as well. It was fascinating when I did the hormone module through the Institute of Functional Medicine. They actually recommend to start with vaginal DHEA even before going to bioidentical hormone replacement therapy or hormone replacement therapy. It can be quite potent, and especially when it's localized. And then, the whole adage of use it or lose it really is true in that scenario. We want to continue to have stimulation. And if it's been a long time, really communicate where it hurts. Use lots and lots of lubrication. Okay. Like, don't be sparing at all with lubrication. If you're in a monogamous relationship where you don't need condoms, I like a really nice oil, like a jojoba oil, even almond oil. If you're needing condoms, then you don't want to use an oil-based lubrication. So hopefully those things help. And then perpetually supporting your actual hormonal levels. So helping to bring up your estrogen and your testosterone and your progesterone. And I can help you with that if you end up coming into my space. Thank you so much. Enjoyed all the health fodder. I'm curious yes to comprehensive thyroid testing. Oh yeah, that would be great, Erica. You're already in my space. And I'm excited to continue to support you. Sheila says she's going to watch it again. You're welcome, Rebecca. How do you prevent oil from getting on sheets, towel? You don't. You can put a towel down. It gets to be fun. It gets to be messy. And sometimes oil gets on the sheets. And I guess the question is, it's a good thing to ask yourself, what do I want more? Do I want to have a fun, exciting, healthy sex life with possibly oil in my sheets? Or do I want clean, impeccable sheets? And the individual that says, I want clean, impeccable sheets, I think of that as push energy. That's very in our masculine. That's very in our doing. And that's likely served you, and it served you well in your lifetime up to this point, but it's likely in self-preservation. And so when we looked at that grid of disempowered, I say that because I see you and I relate to it at times. And so then where I resort to is in my disempowered masculine when I'm feeling threatened. And so when I'm in that disempowered masculine, I'm like, no, this isn't going to work. I don't want oil on the sheets. And then I have to go, really? If it's tremendous connected lovemaking where I feel really connected and I have a mind-blowing orgasm, I'm okay with some oil on my sheets. And if you're not, then use non-oil-based lubrication or put a towel down or do it on a hardwood floor and then mop. There's lots of options. OxyClean. Yeah, someone said OxyClean. Also hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide can go a long way. Okay, anything else? I'd love for you to put in your chat any big ahas, any key takeaways. What has been like, whoa, I didn't think we'd go there. Whoa, that was big. This is 2 hours to spend together. That's significant. And once again, to really, really honor your time. We all live very full, productive lives. And we set boundaries and we make choices. And you chose this today. And I honor you for choosing this today. I see you. And I appreciate you. Erica, okay, don't know too much about mind-blowing sex. Well, Erica, yesterday you missed the call with Eva. I encourage you to watch that recording. And because you're already in the Women's Vibrancy Code, you can start by going directly into the Thinkific portal and just go right into that section and just start digging in. And a lot of it for you is going to be relinquishing control, allowing a little bit more flow, getting into those moments where it's like, am I being the banks of the river or am I allowing myself to be the water? And for those of you that aren't in the Women's Vibrancy Code, in my podcast, the Women's Vibrancy Code, episode 44. It's a great episode. It's worth listening to. Kitsy, you're welcome. Okay, key takeaways. Put it in the chat. I'm going to take a sip. Thank you. You're welcome. What's felt profound? What's left you with more longing? What's a new desire that you realized is within you? What's a new self-awareness where you're like, wow, yeah, I guess I really am existing super, super in my push energy and I can see where it's not serving me anymore. Deeper consideration of needs and desires to express. Yeah. Gratitude and love your top. Ah, thanks. It's a fun top. You should see the back. It's got this like little flappy thing. I don't exactly know what it's for, but it's fun. And I get to wear my little strapless bra. I'm like, we're talking libido today. I gotta. Okay, this was so amazing. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had to stop birth control because of an unexplained stroke. My changes in moods I had associated with PMS, but maybe it's in my hormonal shifting without birth control. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking, thank you for sharing that. So yeah, stroke is definitely one of those risk factors when we're adding in pharmaceutical estrogen that is rare, but it's not fun. And so for you to have stopped birth control, I kind of celebrate that. At least hormonal birth control, as long as you still have some route to ensure that you don't get pregnant if you don't want to get pregnant. And your body now gets to detox that progestin and estrogen. And instead of getting it from the outside, your body goes, oh, okay, now I get to produce it from inside. And there's a lot that's positive that can come from that. And we can still support the pendulum not swinging so far in regard to mood. And once again, remember, we go to, okay, what's going on with gut health? We know that just simply being on birth control in the past, or for those of you on Prilosec or ibuprofen, a lot of different meds cause leaky gut. And if there's leaky gut, now your body's not absorbing the nutrients from the food that you're eating, and it's not producing the hormones that you're looking for. And so we get to go to the foundation of, okay, let's recover from that. Let's make sure we're healing the various aspects and then really caring for your body at a deep foundational level so that your body now produces those hormones on its own. And sometimes when you're on the pill, because it's giving you that outside the body, the exogenous hormones every day, when that goes away, now you're feeling more. And it's like, whoa, this is kind of new fiery irritability that I don't really know what to do with. And I go, okay, cool. We get to feel. Feelings are meant to be felt. And how can we go in and really support you so that the pendulum doesn't swing so far and it doesn't impact your relationships and your ability to get your work done? And so I have lots of ideas for you, Nicole. I have takeaways, but I'm struggling to put them into words. Hope for the future. Awesome. Yeah. And Feather, you were on the women's circle too. So you've had a couple moments to kind of be in my space and take it all in. Hopefully it's all kind of coming together a bit. I think it's important to realize that life and sensual energy doesn't stop at any age. To be open to change on all levels. I'm 70, feel very young internally. Great, healthy, organic lifestyle and creativity is major in toughening. I'm wondering if toughening was the word that she meant to use. Also being involved with great nutrition and supplementation. No one believes my age, so that is good. It shows externally. Yeah, you meant youthening. Yeah, absolutely. Age is super relative. And, I interact with a lot of women in their 70s, 80s that still have very robust lives and great vitality. And it shows up in different ways. Maybe it's vitality in your creativity. Maybe it's vitality in your compassion. Maybe it's vitality in your physical body, your sexual body. Maybe it's all of it. Okay, we're at time. I'm going to go take a break from talking. Y'all are awesome. For those of you watching the replay, reach out to Ashley in the Facebook group. I'll go peek over there. And with that, I'm going to go take a pause. Big appreciation for each of you.